tech discussion. Now, for many of you who might not have met our tech expert on the show, she is a brilliant leading startup lawyer that built a solution that clearly represents a new vision for legal practice with emphasis on client-friendly services in Africa. Now, the first time I ever came in contact with her was how she used the tech space, that's talking about social media, to propagate the profession of law, which some might not see as something that you can put out there, but she changed that face, I tell you. And of course, she focused on startups, including tech startups. It's great to have you, Barnada Alexa, here, Nacho. You're welcome.
Thank you for having me again.
You see, so I just want to mention this part here, so that maybe for those who have not met you and all of that, how was it that you got to make use of the tools available via social media to propagate the profession of law, as it were? Even if it's not something that we see people use social media a lot, up until, after you now, we've seen quite a number of others and all of that. But how did you decide to hook onto that tech space, propagating your profession?
Okay, I wouldn't take all the credit to say that I was the first to start to use social media.
Okay.
However,
but the way you did it was quite different, in your unique way.
Yes. So I figured that most of the people I wanted to work and serve were on social media. And there's this thing about marketing, you have to go where your target audience are. So, I mean, for the people I wanted to work with, people who are building tech solutions, startup founders, you most likely would find them across different social media platforms. So all I needed to do was position as the go-to person if you needed to, do anything about the legal aspects of their business. So that's basically it.
And our topic today is IP protection strategies for startups. What is IP protection, first of all?
IP means intellectual property, product of the mind. It's a form of asset. Unlike physical assets that you can see, this is an intellectual asset. And so there is a need to put proper protection measures in place because they easily can be stolen. So the strategies are those things that you can do to secure your intellectual property.
Wonderful. Let's get straight into those strategies. What are those strategies?
Okay, so it would depend largely on what kind of assets you're looking to protect.
Okay.
Right? There is trademark, there is patent, there's copyright, there's design.
Okay.
And beyond those are actual registrations that you have to do. Beyond those, you also have other forms of other strategies that you could deploy. For example, trade secret protection doesn't require any form of registration. And I'm just going to take the time to quickly explain those things I mentioned. So trademark, for example, secures your brand assets, your brand identities, the logo. So this is Wake Up Nigeria show. Yeah. Let's just assume that this is a brand name for this particular show. Now, this would be trademarked. And when it is trademarked, it means that no one else can have their show and call it Wake Up Nigeria show. Do you understand?
Okay.
So you trademark in the relevant classes. There are different classes. And then there's patents for inventions and innovations.
And innovations.
Yes. And then, of course, copyright for musical artists, authors, people who are creating literary works, sound, cinematography, including software development. So, yeah, as a founder or as a startup founder, your IP is like one of your priciest assets that you have.
And from what you're already saying now, it's so wide that it is important that before you even get into the startup, someone should talk to a lawyer like you to understand what it takes.
Exactly.
Because, okay, these IPs, are they global? Or are they restricted to maybe your locale? So, for instance, if I register something in Nigeria, if somebody in the US wants to use it and all of that, is it global or does it cover?
IP is territorial.
Okay.
Depends on where you're registering it from.
Okay.
And there is something called the Hague system and the Madrid system. Unfortunately, Nigeria is not a member country yet. So it means that if you want to secure your assets in Nigeria, your trademark, for example, in Nigeria, you're only going to get protection only in Nigeria. So if you want to have presence in another country, say South Africa, you would actually need to register in that country.
In that country. The Hague and Madrid, where do they cover? What regions do they cover?
Well, there are a number of countries that are under it, European countries, some African countries are there as well.
All right. Now, there's something you always mention, which you say before even registering a business. I know you talk about it a lot, that you should always, you should talk to somebody or talk to a lawyer before you get into a partnership.
Did you see my post yesterday?
I don't know if it's yesterday, but you always talk about it quite a lot.
I put something up like that yesterday.
You know, does it also affect things like this? You know, when two people come up with an idea and we're just talking about it, you know, because we've heard that thing that one person went to start up something is something that two people spoke about at the beginning,
yes,
and you know,
it's very important. See, before you even jump in to say, I have this idea, I think you should know about it. There's something called NDA, non-disclosure agreement, or confidentiality agreement.
So both of us should sign. If me and you want to start up something now, we should have that NDA.
So it depends on if I am the one who has the idea, I'm the ideator, I'm the one who is trying to talk to you to come on board, but I'm not sure. It's about protecting yourself. And when it comes to business, you can't afford to be sentimental about it.
I like that.
Right? So if I suspect or if I feel that there's a need for me to secure my interest, because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like a relationship. It's called talking stage of building a startup together. So we might be having a conversation and then we will not just click enough to go further. And I may have shared my IP secrets with you. So there's a need to want to insist on, okay, please do this. But then again, it depends. There's no straight answer to it, to be honest, because it will depend on the facts.
Because we've seen this happen a lot with businesses. Somebody says, that's e-commerce or one thing someone started, it was me. We sat down in a room and we did it together. So what they could have done is that if they had an NDA or anything,
they could have protected themselves.
I
will protect the idea, yes.
In those particular scenarios.
But you know, sometimes we're so excited to just start.
I'm telling you,
with social media and storytelling, people are already sharing their trade secrets and everything online.
So much.
Yeah. And so that affects the degree of protection they get, even when they now decide that they want to protect, maybe do a trademark or maybe get someone to sign an NDA. It's already an open secret out there. Wonderful. And it defeats the purpose of protection.
Wonderful. While you're already here, I'm already getting reports that there are a lot of people that want to talk to you. This is quite expository. I think we might continue on this when next you're here, because if people knew about things like this, we might, you know, had I known. Had I known.
Yeah, there will not be much of had I known cases.
Thank you so much, Barinada Alexi Henacho. It's
always
a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
While you're seated here